Hi again, it's Catherine, the librarian from Langsdale, and I want to talk to you for a few minutes about using sources in your paper. So we use sources in order to help strengthen our arguments. So when you use outside sources, you're bringing in other experts and scholars who can help you prove your point. They can help you demonstrate that the point that you're making is a good one. So my goal by talking about this for a few minutes is to help you avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism can be intentional or unintentional. So intentional plagiarism is when you knowingly, purposefully copy someone else's work and try to pass it off as your own. However, you can still get in trouble for unintentional plagiarism, which is plagiarism that you didn't mean to commit, but maybe you didn't know the rules. So it's really important that you understand what is plagiarism and what isn't plagiarism, and how you should properly cite your sources. So we'll talk about this for a few minutes, but as always, feel free to contact me if you have questions. So essentially there are three ways to use sources. You can quote from a source, where you take the author's words exactly. You might copy and paste an exact sentence or a small part of a paragraph into your paper. It's fine to do that, but if you copy and paste an author's words exactly, you must put it in quotation marks. If you don't put it in quotation marks, it's as if you're trying to pass off that work as if it were your own, and that's plagiarism. You can also, the second way you can use sources is by paraphrasing. So if you paraphrase a source, that's where you take an idea that the author had and you put it in your own words. So it's not an idea you came up with, it's the idea an author came up with, and you're just rewriting it into your own words. You can do that, but you still must cite that source. And you have to cite it in two ways. You have to cite it using an in-text citation. So this is what that might look like. This is APA style, it's usually the author's last name and the date it was written. In MLA style, it's a little bit different, and I'll show you where to get some guides for those styles in the future. So you must include an in-text citation for a paraphrase, but you also have to include a list in your bibliography or your reference list at the end. You have to include that source. So every time that you have an in-text citation, you must also have an entry in your references list for that source. Okay, so two ways so far you can use sources. You can quote, you need an in-text citation and an entry on the references list for a quotation. You can paraphrase, you need an in-text citation and an entry on the references list when you paraphrase. You can also summarize, where you might just share with your readers the main points that an author makes. So sometimes you could take a 5 or 10 page paper and boil it down in your own words to just about one sentence, so where you explain the argument that author makes. You can do that. That's called a summary, and you must also include an in-text citation, for that, and an entry on your references list. For every time you quote, paraphrase, or summarize, you need to include that in-text citation and an entry on the references list. You're probably sick of me hearing it by now. So also it's important that when you include a quote or a paraphrase or a summary, that you don't just kind of leave it in your paper. It's important that you explain to your reader why that quote, paraphrase, or summary is there. You might understand why it makes sense and how it ties to your thesis, but you should explain that to your reader. It'll help make your point a lot more clear. So I've included some links on Sakai that will help you with APA style or MLA style, but if you ever have questions about citations or feel unsure, it's a really important issue, and it's important that you get it right. So please feel free to come to the library. You can talk to a reference librarian, or you can make an appointment with the Achievement and Learning Center, and they can set you up with a tutor who will go through your paper with you and help you better understand when and where and how to use citations. As always, let me know if you have questions. My email is cajohnson@ubolt.edu. Thanks.